I think it's time to talk about MLB free agency now that the regular season has ended and the playoffs are coming up. My name is Kevin Barral from the KO Sports Corner. Make sure to like and subscribe and follow us for more content like this, as well as all our social medias linked below. We're pretty much going to go through the top five most notable guys, and then on my second channel, La Pecera de los Miami Marlins, we'll be going into Miami Marlins possible free agents. And then on Fish Stripes, on my podcast, Fish Stripes Unfiltered, with me and Isaac Azut. You guys could also tune into all possible free agent scenarios when it includes MLB and Miami Marlins. Yeah, I'm excited to film this for sure, and we're gonna start with the catcher position, which it isn't the most highlight one. It's not the most notable one whatsoever, but there are some names that make sense. The first one being Mike Zunino. He's not the biggest defensive catcher type of guy. He's not the greatest batter either, but he makes a huge impact and he hits. I mean, I just said he's not the biggest type of batter, but he does hit. He mashes homers. I mean, he really does it all. He's pretty good defensively as well. Makes sense for any team to snag him. The Rays do have, I guess more privilege to get this guy. He's a cheap guy. I think he'll be making around 5 to 6 mil a year. I mean, that's usually around the low money kind of teams. Those teams that include the Marlins. A team like Oakland could really snag him if they're not going to go with their catcher moving forward, if they trade him away. A team like the Boston Red Sox, I don't know if Christian Vasquez is going to be that guy moving forward. Maybe they go with a guy like Mike Zunino, who isn't too expensive. I mean, Marlins makes sense for him as well. I'm not going to be going into the team that he's going to go into. I'm going to try to make a separate video on that. But Zunino is a very notable guy. I mean, he had a good season for Tampa. I'm going to put his stats up on the screen right now. You'll be reading them there, and they're pretty good stats. I mean, he was pretty good this season for the Rays. Big part of what they did this season, getting to 100 wins. Works well with pitchers, which is a huge thing for any team when you go into it looking for a catcher. Even though you just want him to bat, as well as having a good defensive stance, good defense. That's also what you need as well as a veteran guy who's going to work with pitchers. That is what he does. And I think Zunino really does fit that well. Another option for sure is Christian Vasquez. I just mentioned him. I think Boston, I don't think they accept his option. I think he goes into the free agent market and really starts to see what he could get out there. I mean, many teams could get him catcher friendly. I mean, catcher heavy market for sure this season. It's not the most highlight market like the one we had a couple years ago, JT, McCann, it's not going to be that kind of a market. It's going to be the market that's a very low. I thought a lot of guys are going to go quickly, and this is one of them for sure. I mean, um, Vasquez was a World Series champ, I'm pretty sure, with Boston. He's a really good player. He has the bat. He's pretty good defensively. Works well with pitchers again. I mean, and he's one of the notable free agents on the market. It makes sense for him to go to, I guess, a team that's going to be younger. I always put Miami in here because Miami just makes sense, but the Marlins, I know the Marlins how they are. They aren't going to go for big time guys. If they do go big time, they're going to go for trades. And I'll be making a video hopefully on every single MLB team talking about what they're going to do in the free agent market. I'm going to grind. Trust me. Baseball season just ended. My regular season just ended, pretty much covering the Marlins for my first season. So we'll for sure be making moves there. What else can I mention? I mean, we also have Roberto Perez. He's on Cleveland, the Guardians. So I don't expect him really to go back to Cleveland, a team that's kind of rebuilding. I think they're going to go and look for another catcher out in the market, or they're going to go with one of their younger guys in the minor league system. So, yeah, I think it makes sense for them to go to another team, a competitive team. A team like maybe the Giants makes sense as a backup option. Um, what else? I mean, you also have a team like the Dodgers, always looking for new guys on that roster. You really come to look at it, even though they're not needed to catch you. Oakland's a good team. Tampa, if they lose out on Zunino. I mean, Roberto Perez is going to be a very good option for many teams, and I think he's going to help a lot. Maybe he goes to a really young team like Orioles. The Orioles are really a team that I think could need a catcher. They could use one for a veteran guy to help out young pitchers. So that makes sense. Another option is Yan Gomes. I think he's going to go to a really competitive team. He was in Oakland last season. He got traded from Washington to Oakland. He may go back to Washington. I mean, makes sense. He could help out the young guys. I just don't see it happening. I mean, I don't really know where Yan Gomes is going to go right now. It's really too early to say where Yan Gomes could go, or any player in the free agent market. But maybe the bigger superstars like Javi Baez, you could kind of have an idea what they want to do, but you're not sure, and we'll see what happens on that end. Then you also have finally Kurt Suzuki, or and Wilson Ramos. Kurt Suzuki would be a very good honorable mention, which he is. And then Wilson Ramos, I guess, cracks that top 5 most notable guys in the market. Wilson Ramos, the Buffalo, he's been playing on a lot of teams recently. Detroit was his last stop. I think it was pretty okay with them. He was okay, mediocre. Didn't do much, but he got injured and his season ended right there. So yeah, the catcher market isn't the most spotlight one. That shortstop market, when I took a look at it, oh my God, was it good? So yeah, we're going to move on to first base next, which does have a couple guys. Now entering the first base market, obviously the biggest name is Freddie Freeman. I think he's going to go back to Atlanta. I don't really see him going to another team but the Atlanta Braves. That team is extremely competitive. They're going to make it. They're making it in the playoffs this season, division round. So yeah, Braves, he's probably going to go back to the Braves. Anthony Rizzo is another extremely interesting name. Could go back to the Yankees or he goes back to Chicago. Or he just joins another World Series contending team. Maybe goes to the Padres. The Padres are a really active team that goes for superstars. That would be a pretty good fit for him since they have Eric Hosmer there right now. For sure would be an upgrade for that team that did not make the playoffs. Extremely disappointing. But yeah, then we also have Yuli Gurriel, who won one of his best seasons this season, actually. And age is not looks like it's not getting up there. He's right now 38, I'm pretty sure, and he's still playing at a good rate, at a good level, still playing at a good competition. I mean, I think this guy's really going to help out, and I think he goes back to the Astros, or he goes out there and tests the open market. Maybe he goes plays with his brother in Toronto. That would be a pretty good option as a DH, maybe. So yeah, you really look at it. Yuli Gurriel could be a really good option for any team. Then we have CJ Cron, who was a guy who's been pretty productive lately. I mean, guy who is in Colorado. I could see him going back to Colorado. Maybe goes to another team to get some more playing time when it comes to that. Even though he was really good in Colorado, got playing time, but I think you get more of that in the team that is competitive. The Dodgers make a lot of sense for a guy like him. He could swap out with Max Muncy. Washington Nationals make a lot of sense. You really look at it, the Mets can make some sense, even though I think it will just be more of a swapping role. I think he's going to go more of a competitive team when you really look at it. He's a first baseman. He could really DH it for sure. National League DH is going to make a big time change to the market. It's going to swift it a lot. See guys me like Nelson Cruz or JD Martinez who are on the market this season go to maybe a National League team. That's something to really look at. Then we have finally Brandon Belt, who is going to go back to San Francisco, no doubt about that, in my opinion. At least he's had a good season with the Giants. He's going to go in there and he's just going to finish off his career with the Giants. Now that they're an extremely competitive team, you thought they're going to rebuild. They're not rebuilding, folks. They're competitive, and that's where I think Brandon Belt is going to land. Let's move on to the second baseman market. Really looking at the second base market, I mean, it's not the most flashiest one, but they're for sure players that made an impact, like Jonathan VR on the Mets last season. That guy's going to be getting a lot of phone calls to go to teams as a utility role kind of guy. Oakland makes sense for him for sure. Going back to the Mets is a real possibility. Going to Atlanta maybe if Ronald Acuna isn't back yet. That makes a lot of sense. But I think Jonathan VR's value really has stocked up from this season, especially how good he was. I mean, I'm going to put the stats up on the season. He had a solid season with the Mets, had an impact. So yeah, he's going to be getting a lot of calls as free agency. I think his value is going to be a little bit higher than it was, a couple seasons ago with Miami and then going to Toronto. So yeah, Wilmer Flores is the next guy. I mean, a player who is a kind of a platoon type of player. He could really swap it with anyone. He could really play a lot of different kinds of positions. I could see him going back to San Francisco on a team option that he's right now, if not it's a $250K buyout. So Wilmer Flores is for sure going to be a guy who is going to be getting a couple calls. At the end of the day, I do think he goes back to the Giants. Next player on this list, I think it's Josh Harrison. Yeah, it's Josh Harrison, really good player. Made an impact for the Oakland Athletics Nationals at the time. So I'm excited to see what he could do. He's kind of revived his career in a way. Just when you thought he was really going on the decline, like on a hard decline, he's back on it and he's looking better than he was before. Next player is Starlin Castro, a guy who got his season cut short with some legal issues and was released by the Nationals. I don't think he gets signed this season. If he does, I think it'll be a minor league contract to a rebuilding team, maybe like the Pirates. It'll be interesting to see what happens because of the legal issues he was under or still is. I'm not sure where that is right now, but we'll see what happens with Castro. I mean, on the baseball, and he's a pretty good player defensively. He makes the moves. Offensively, he could really get it going. Didn't have a good season this season, at least. 2021 season was not good. His 2020 season was mediocre. So we'll see what happens. I mean, in the last place Jurickson profile of the San Diego Padres, um, he actually could opt out. I don't think he will opt out, though. It's going to be highly unlikely. But if he does, many teams are going to be calling because he is a player who really could bring some kind of a utility role. He plays many positions: first, second, outfield. So he's going to be a big time help for any team, especially on that utility platoon type of role that I think could make sense for him. So yeah, that's the second base market, the most notable guys, at least in that market. So now we're going to move on to the highlight of the free agency, the best players in free agency, which is shortstop. Moving on to the highlight of the market, which is the shortstop market, we have the first player, which is Javi Baez. I don't think he goes back to the Mets. I know there's been the rumors to Chicago. I think every team's going to be calling for this guy, except the really rebuilding teams, Tampa, Oakland. Besides that, I think every other team is going to be really calling for this guy. Superstar player. He's going to immediately make a huge impact on your roster and your lineup, on the way you play the game. I'm excited to see what happens. He right now is with Lindor, so I mean, maybe he just goes back to New York. Another great option is Trevor Story, who's on this list. Guy who I know is going to get calls, possibly even go to the Yankees. It's been an option. I know the Dodgers were interested in the guy, but now they have Trey Turner, so we'll see what happens. Maybe they even pair him up with Trey Turner. So Trevor Story is another superstar guy who was in the home run derby. He's going to put up some big numbers with any team. I know he's going to be a huge impact as well, offensively, defensively. Big time name there in the free agent market. Then you also have Carlos Correa, which I know is the big fish for the Miami Marlins. They actually acquire him. Oh my God. Let's go Marlins. So I'll be excited that the Marlins do get him. Obviously, they have their other priorities. We know about Nick Castellanos possibly coming to Miami. So yeah, very interesting there. Carlos Correa obviously going to get a lot of contract offers. I think pretty much every player in this shortstop market will get some kind of an offer. Correa is a really good player. He's shown it with Houston. He's a villain type of guy, so he's going to be entering the villain role. If he goes to the Yankees, that's gonna be pretty funny. Marcus Semien, another really good player who really has revived his career with the Blue Jays, signed a 1-year prove-it deal, and he's really proven he's going to be getting over a year. For sure, going to be getting over 10 mil a year. I would be really shocked if he does get lower than 10 mil because he is a player that really can make an impact on any MLB team right now. Maybe he just goes back to Toronto, resigns. That's where he's been doing it well, and that's where he's been hitting the ball well, playing really good defense. So I'm excited to see what Marcus Semien does on that end. Then you also have finally Corey Seager, one of the top free agents on the market, World Series MVP. I know he's going to be getting some offers from teams in the lower markets and the small market teams like Miami. I know was a team for sure mentioned for this guy. I really like what Corey Seager brings to any team. He brought a championship mentality. He's going to be bringing a lot of good baseball, really. I mean, he's a World Series MVP. He has the playoff experience. He's a vet, and he's pretty young when you look at it. He's 28. He's about to be 30 only, so he's not even 30. So it's going to be insane to see how Corey Seager develops as a player with another team, or if he goes back to the Dodgers on some kind of extension, which I think that'll very much benefit him. It will keep him the same role. But I mean, I think maybe being the superstar on the team wouldn't hurt for Corey Seager. So we're going to move on to the third base market, which is as well very interesting. Some guys who I really do want to talk about on that end. Looking at third base, we start with Chris Bryant. I think he stays with the Giants. They made a big time trade to acquire this guy. They're going to try to keep him, obviously. I think he'll sign an extension with that team, or he goes back to Chicago. And all these Chicago Cub guys that were traded have been rumored to return. I don't think they'll return, to be honest. Chicago's in a rebuild. They traded them for a reason. They would have kept them throughout the rest of the year to see what they could have done with the team, maybe rebuilt it a lot quicker than you would have imagined, kind of like what the Giants did. But Chris Bryant, I think he goes back to the Giants. You also have Eduardo Escobar, who was traded midway through the season. I know he said he would like to come back in free agency. He would be open to it, going back to the Arizona Diamondbacks. I don't see it happening. I don't think he wants to be in a rebuilding team. I think he wants to win games. Milwaukee has done him really well this season. He's been good with the Milwaukee Brewers. They're trying to go for a World Series, so it obviously makes a lot of sense to add a guy with the caliber of Eduardo Escobar. Then you also have Kyle Seager, which is the brother of Corey Seager. He has that option with the Mariners. I don't think he takes it. I don't think they take it, actually. The Mariners, it's a team option, a club option. I don't think they take it, but I do think they re-sign to a lot less, to a pay cut, less than 15 mil, which is what's on the club option. Then you have Adrianza, who was a guy who I think was really highly talented. This guy I think could make a big impact with a team. I know he was with the Cleveland Indians this season, not Guardians, but we'll see what happens. And then finally, Brad Miller, who was a guy who was in the Olympics, made a impact, and he was in Team USA. He didn't play quite. He didn't quite play for the in the Olympic team, but he's made an impact with the Phillies. I do expect him to get some kind of contract. He plays more than one position: first, second, third. I know he plays pretty much everything, but pitcher and catcher, which is insane to think of. So that's the super utility guy, kind of like an Eddie Alvarez kind of guy, except he doesn't play. Only Eddie plays the infield. So yeah, that's third base for you guys. We're gonna move on to left field. Starting in left field with Mark Canha. Mark Canha is a really good player who's really just revived it with Oakland, really gotten it going. I think he's going to get a lot of offers, not big time, not even 10 mil, not even 5 mil, maybe 3 to 5 mil, I think is what he'll get. I just said not 5 mil, but I think that is the cap of what he'll be earning with any MLB team. I know Miami's been heavily rumored with what I've been seeing, what I've been hearing, with what makes sense with the Miami Marlins. Zook, he's been a guy who's been heavily rumored. He's an old friend, as we call him here in Miami, old friend Mark Canha would be a great option. Then you also have Tommy Pham, who's 34. He's up there in age, but I think he'll get some kind of a 1-year deal, kind of finish it off. Jock Peterson, I don't think he'll be back with the Braves. I think he's going to get a full-time starting role at center, at right, center, left, wherever it is. I think he's going to get that on another team, maybe another more of a competitive team. Maybe if Oakland makes him an offer, like a 1-year type of deal, like 1 year, 3-4 mil. I think he can maybe even take that. Or if a team overpays, maybe the Braves overpay a little bit to keep him on that bench, right at bench. That'll be a good option. Then you also have the option of Kyle Schwarber, who went to Boston to the Red Sox. He was mashing it with the Nationals, still playing a good role with the Red Sox. He's going to get some kind of a contract offer higher than what the Nationals gave him this season. And then finally, you have Corey Dickerson, a guy who I don't know what kind of contract he'll get. Maybe gets a minor league deal, goes to a kind of a rebuild team, or goes back to Toronto, which he's been pretty decent with them lately. So can't wait to see what happened in the outfield market in general. We're going to move on to center field. At center field is my guy, Starlin Marte, missing the guy still. I think he's going to get a lot of contract offers, mainly from the Yankees, Dodgers. For sure, going to get something from the Giants. I think that's about it. Miami, I know, is going to make some kind of an offer. It's not going to be the best one, and he's not going to take it, but I know he's always wanted to go back to Miami. He said it right before he got traded. He would like to return to Miami, like to finish off his career in Miami. Pretty sure this was, don't quote this from me. Don't even try. I think Craig Mish was the one who spoke to Marte, and that's what he told him. So I'm actually interested to see what the Marlins do with Marte. Maybe they finally offer him that 4th year that he really wanted. That's why he didn't re-sign with the Marlins. And then we have Jackie Bradley, who's been with the he's been decent with the Milwaukee Brewers. He hasn't been good either. He hasn't been bad. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Leury Garcia, another utility role type of guy, reminds me a lot of John Birdie with the Marlins. He's a center fielder at heart. I think he's going to be doing a lot of magical things with any team. When it comes to the offense, he's a guy who did explode the bat a little bit this season, did raise up his batting average. He's been solid this season. So excited to see Kevin Pillar, another guy who was on the Mets. I see him going back or going to another team. That's really how it goes. But Kevin Pillar did play a good role in the Mets this season, and he may come back. And then finally, Gerard Dyson. I haven't heard of this guy in a long time, but I saw him in there, and I think he makes sense for any MLB team that's really just looking to add some depth. So, yeah, let's move on to right field. Next is right field. Just going to show you guys quickly. Charlie Blackmon, he's on the decline. I don't know really what team he'll go to. Very interesting player to see what happens in the market with him. He won't be getting the money that is on his club option or player option for sure. If he does have the player option, he better take it because that's some good money. I think it's like 20 mil. Then you have Nick Castellanos, another player who had maybe his best season with the Reds ever since going to Cincy. I know Miami was heavily rumored at some point with Craig Mish saying it. Then you have Cole Calhoun, another good player who signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think he won't be back on that team next season. Looking to sign with a contender, especially with all the injury issues he had the past couple of seasons. Michael Conforto, another guy who I don't think goes back to the Mets. He will be signing a deal with hopefully a team that I think will be using him more in a platoon role or even a bench depth. Finally, Jorge Soler, who really played well with the Atlanta Braves when he got traded from Kansas. So We'll see what happens there. Maybe the Braves bring him back and Jock Peterson. That would be a very successful offseason for the Braves. Let's move on to the pitchers. All right, guys. I didn't really go into depth with the pitchers. I mean, there's not much to say about those guys. All guys who I think will be getting a lot of lucrative offers, and it's just not much to really talk about. We're already 27 minutes into the recording. I don't want to extend it too much more, but I mean, you really look at it. Justin Verlander is a great option. Zach Greinke, again, these are guys who aren't really talked about, but they're very good pitchers. They are at some point Cy Young candidates, World Series champs are both of them. So you really look at it, that's really good there. And then Craig Kimbrell won on a 1-year deal to prove it. He's really proved it this year. And I think he'll be getting another longer offer from other teams. So we'll for sure see what happens. Kenley Jansen on the board. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes down, and you guys will be for sure hearing it from me here at the KO Sports Corner. So yeah, my name is Kevin Barral. Like and subscribe. Peace out and have a great day.